those ponds are cold. Pond dipping for newts in the morning gives you chilblains, FYI. Okay, so a few things I noticed then. I did find 4 male smooth newts, but no females. There are, this year, for whatever reason, perhaps in other years, I've never really counted like this, there seem to be far more female palmate newts and male palmate newts than either male or female smooth newts. Not sure why. Also, they all seem to be not fully grown, so I would guess these guys probably haven't left the pond ordinarily. Or perhaps a couple of these have, but the smaller ones certainly not. They'll be last year's juveniles, or perhaps even the year before. But ordinarily, newts spend 8 months of the year out of the pond, and they time their life cycle and their breeding cycle with the frog spawn. However, for the first time in 15 years, I've had no frog spawn this year, and it has declined steadily, I would say, over the last 5 years. I'll try and drop in a picture in a second of my old pond, which is now a bog garden, 10 years ago, and you'll see the difference, and it's remarkable. So these guys probably aren't faring that well food-wise, although they all look relatively healthy and plump, and the females seem to have eggs, so perhaps they're living on other invertebrates outside of the pond and also pond life, because those 3 top ponds now are relatively well established, so there might be enough food. One of these guys is fully grown, and I will try to get him because he's stunning. You can see straight away that these guys are more vibrant. They're bigger, they're spotted, and they're in the, you know, I guess you would call them prettier, although I think palmate newts are beautiful in their own right. There's like a 1-year-old here, relatively small guy. This guy here, I believe, is the big one, and there's another big one there, but I think this guy, you can see his frill on his back here straight away. Much more reminiscent of a great crested newt, and look at that colour on that tail, absolutely gorgeous. To have these in your garden is just a delight, and they're completely inert. They obviously don't cause you any harm, and they're just stunning creatures, and far more interesting to have in a pond than just fish. I never understand why people don't want wildlife ponds, because fish, an unnatural pond, a man-made pond, fish just eat everything. You wouldn't have any other life except the fish, and some people want that, I get that, but you know, these are free. They come along, you create the habitat, if you build it, they will come, and they do, and they're just stunning. You can see there the difference between this guy's head and the male head of the palmate. Palmate's got lines running from his nose to his neck, splitting up the speckles, whereas these guys are kind of speckled all over. And I'll try and turn him over without causing too much stress. You'll be able to briefly glimpse that he does indeed have a speckled neck. So I don't know if you can see that, just briefly there. The beautiful underlying colours as well on their underside. They do have a speckled neck, whereas the palmates don't. So this guy is indeed about 10 centimetres long. If he stretches out, you can see there that, yeah, he's tip to tail. He's about 10 centimetres. So that's a fully grown male. Fortunately, I couldn't find, you can see there, obviously, the sac underneath the base of the tail there being male. But they are absolutely beautiful, aren't they? I mean, why would anyone not want these in their pond? So I'll just let him in there to cool off. And they do, when they come out, they're very obviously much like frogs and toads. Their skins dry out, and they're fine outside the pond. They at night they will exit the pond, which is why you need a good access to a wildlife pond. They will exit every night and go and find food if there's none in the pond. So they're very versatile creatures, much more, I would say, in my opinion, although it's not a scientific one, these guys are far more hardy than frogs, which is probably why frogs and toads are suffering more. These guys just seem to always do well, but I don't know if that will last forever because of the reduction in our frogs, which is a real shame because it might have a knock-on effect on these guys, but they've all calmed down now. What beautiful creatures. My favourite by far, outside of solitary bees. I mean, this guy's got amazing markings. Look, just see if I can focus the camera on him. There you go. Absolutely beautiful, like a leopard. Lovely orange. This is kind of medium sized one there, but absolutely my favourite creature outside of solitary bees. I mean, I have no favourite creature, I like all animals, but these guys have been close to my heart for a long time, and something I enjoy coming out in the garden at night with a torch, because you'll see them both in and out of the pond. Word to the wise, if you do suspect you have newts in your garden, then cleaning up leaves in the autumn or the spring, or over winter, be really careful, because you can miss them. They're very still, they play dead. There'll be another video in my library of that, but they play dead very well, so you might think you've hurt one or killed one and dispose of it. No, they do that all the time. But be really careful with sweeping, because you can easily just miss these guys. And sometimes I always move my leaves and look at it, because they're right at the bottom where the leaves become wet and clumped together, and that creates natural heat when they're decomposing the leaves, and that's what they stay in over winter. But I've removed all the leaves and I could have sworn there was none there, and then as I'm clearing up I find two, and it's just crazy how well camouflaged they are within the leaf litter. So be really careful there. I think I've probably covered everything that I know about newts and my own personal experience about newts, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to give you some more advice. I'll show you a quick release video, but I believe from pond dipping this a minute ago, I'm looking probably about 500 newts in the 3 ponds. When I moved there, if you ever want to find your newts and you've got vegetation in your pond, they always congregate around the sides. I just tend to do that. I don't know if the sides warm up first. Obviously the middle of the water is going to be the last thing to warm up, it's possible with the sun. So just gently move your vegetation away from the side of the pond and look down, and you will always see them there. So I'm going to grab the camera, there we go, and just grab the, and these are another thing I noticed, these are really feisty comparatively to the smooth newts. These guys are really feisty. They tend to calm down, the smooth newts, a couple of seconds after you pick them up. But these guys were frantically spinning around this bowl. So I guess they're just a little bit more aggressive maybe. Oh, and the other thing they do in the mating season, smooth newts, the males will bend that tail around, that long beautiful tail, and point it towards a female, and indeed each other when they're competing with each other. As kind of a challenge, and there'll be plenty of videos online, and I think one of my videos with Claire de Lune playing Debussy has some good images of them doing that, spinning round. So here's the pond. You can see where I've moved the edge away in order to find these guys. So I'm just going to release them very slowly back in. And now they don't want to leave. There you go. They'll often sit there when you've done this and just really not do a lot and just not move, because they, like I say, they do like to play dead, and they are poisonous, so not got a lot of predators in the wild. I'll move this end down, see if we can find just quickly any smooth newt. Oh, there's one. There's a couple there. I don't know if you could see that. And then I don't know what they are, whether they were females or not. Let's see, and there's another female there. I don't know if this camera is permeating. There we go. That's a palmate newt female, again everywhere this year. There you go. Not a lot of, there's another male, might just be one of the ones we just caught. Yeah, there's got to be, even in the middles you will see them, but they do like, yeah, there's one there, there's a palmate male there. I don't know if you can see him just down in there, hopefully. His little head there. There you go, he's just gone. So there are plenty of newts here. I don't know if you remember watching the videos here, but look how much water there is, how much vegetation there is. It grows so quick, this particular type. So I'll have to have a clean out. It's important to have an open area of pond for pond skaters and other landing insects in order to attract them, beetles, stuff like that. You do need a night, and also for the sunlight to permeate through, you need that. So I do need to give these guys a clean up. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. hopefully it's given you a bit more insight into our newt friends, and everyone stay safe, and I'll catch you soon, guys. See you later.